Hello, welcome to Forest Focus. Nottingham Forest take a point to Crystal Palace, even sixth in the Premier League, 2 points behind Chelsea and Newcastle with 3 to play. A good point for the Reds, not enough. We'll discuss that and more in the company of, first of all, Mikey Clarke. Mikey, evening, how are you?
Evening. Yeah, just about calmed down after that. It was pretty stressful, but I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good. Oh, stressful last few minutes, certainly. I would definitely say that. Simon Fotheringham, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Matt. Yeah, nerves were jangling a little bit at the end, but yeah, respect the point, and it could be vital at the end of the season.
Could be. Former Reds midfielder Lewis McGugan, evening, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be back for a little bit of a kind of post-match debrief. So no, it's always a pleasure to be on. That's for sure.
Kick us off, Luke. Kick us off. What did you make? Actually, give us your thoughts first of all. Get into the game. Was it a good point in the circumstances, or not? Do you think?
Yeah, very good point. I think that the kind of the weekend, a lot of people talk about Newcastle's point at Brighton. And then again, I think this is kind of coming that same context, really. Come the end of the season, this could be really, really, really valuable point. And I think towards the end of that game tonight, I think we was hanging on. So yeah, we'll definitely. It's always a tough place to go, no matter kind of what point in the season. But I think with their kind of run, with their FA Cup final coming up, and they're in a bit of a definitely in a good spell. I think for large parts of the game, how the game kind of swung mostly for them, especially in that kind of last 20, 25 minutes, and they had a lot of chances. And on another day, they could have took the 3 points easily. So I think we definitely kind of take that point away and get ready for Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if we're talking 10 games into a season for us and we see a game plan out like that with shots off the bar, disallowed goal, balls cannoning around penalty areas in the final minutes, it feels like a good point to me. Do you view it through the same lens then, even away from the European chase circumstances?
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the back of our recent form, I should say, although we won our last away game at Tottenham, obviously, but take that out of it, I think it's 4 defeats in the last 5. And I think to go 1-0 down in the manner that we did, when actually it was probably fairly even with similar number of chances for both teams. So to go behind like we did and to respond like we did, I thought was great. But then when Murillo went off and the referee decided that every Forest player should have a yellow card to take home with him, I think it just felt like we were hanging on, weren't we? And yeah, I think it's a great point, and you know it's back in our hands. So bring it on, bring on these last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, if we'd lost that, Mikey, it would have been game over. I think in the Champions League, not mathematically, but psychologically, maybe if we'd conceded late on there, wouldn't it?
Maybe, but we didn't. So there you go. So I think the guys are right. It could be a huge point. It really could, because if you think about permutations for Saturday, the early game, as we know, is Newcastle-Chelsea. They both can't win. Let's say Newcastle win, which is probable. We've got Leicester at home. If we beat them, it really is game on with 2 games to go. So that point could be absolutely crucial. And what I really enjoyed about it is they were dropping like flies at the end, weren't they? Gibbs-White was cramping up. Murillo had his hamstring. He's gone. Milenkovic's nose exploded. There was the people out on the feet, but they dug in and they held on and they got a point. And we could be looking back at that point in a few weeks to say that is the one that got us over the line for Champions League qualification. So, yes, we're playing a little bit of catch-up, but it's still very much on.
Yeah. We'll pick up on that towards the end. We'll get into the game, though, obviously. What about the performance, Lewis? What did you make of it from us?
Yeah, I felt it was when you look at it from the whole game, I think there were spells in there that we did okay. For large parts, I thought it was quite even, but I think that kind of top end of the pitch, I think Crystal Palace probably shaded it throughout the 90 minutes, and they had that kind of better chances. I felt kind of middle, back to middle area. I thought we was quite good, especially first half. I thought we moved the ball quite well. But again, I just think at the minute, and I think that's potentially where we are. I just think that top end, we just probably not where we have been for large parts of the season, and that could be down to fatigue, both mentally and physically. A little bit of kind of confidence with the results that we've had, and then we go to Wembley and the chances that we had in the second half, and all them things can kind of collectively make a difference. But I just think at that top end of the pitch at the minute, we're just struggling, and unfortunately, going into this kind of stage of the season with these games left and needing these points, that's really not what we need. But unfortunately, I think that's quite where we are.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about our attacking players towards the end. Gibbs-White in particular. I did think Palace's attacking players were good. Eze in particular. Adam Wharton's just ridiculous. Fantastic player. We'll probably talk more about him. Let's go talk back about team selection then. One big name leapt out off the page. Sangare coming in, which is a surprise. It was his first start since August, so I don't think you would have predicted it. What did you make of the team when you saw it?
I think probably a little bit of shock, like most Forest fans, I would have thought. It felt like he had a choice. Obviously, Callum Hudson-Odoi is not available, so the big decision was who was coming in for him. I would have kept Yates in absolutely after the other night, and I would have also not played Sangare. But I thought he did really well, considering. It must be so difficult. Lewis will tell us, but coming in to a side at this stage of a season when you haven't been playing at the level that we're playing at, to suddenly come in and put a performance like that, I think I thought it was great. But yes, I think when the team was announced, it was a bit of a shock, wasn't it?
I think so. I'll go back to Lewis because obviously midfield's his area of expertise. Sorry, Mikey. What did you make of Sangare's performance, Lewis?
Yeah, I like I said, I think that coming in out the cold is really difficult. I think if you looked at it, sometimes from a player's perspective, when you come in and you haven't played for a while, you haven't kind of got that flow in the team. You come in and you kind of keep things simple. You don't really want to put the ball at risk, especially that midfield area, and you kind of just make the game kind of tick over. You don't really want to go in and be a little bit risky and kind of give a few balls away, which then could potentially lose your confidence a little bit more. So you play kind of safe, and I think he did that. Over time, if he had a run in the team, you maybe see a little bit more kind of on the ball. But yeah, like I said, I think that he came in. I think he did a job. Kind of the bigger picture, I'm not sure, and that's just my opinion. I'm not sure bigger picture, but I think again, from what he had to do tonight to come in, it's always a tricky game, especially away from home. I think that he kind of acquitted himself well and kind of helped the team.
I think he was good on the ball, and we looked worse with the ball when he went off. Obviously, I don't think Yates came on and did a lot. I just have reservations about him without the ball. I mean, he was a walking red card for his final 10 minutes and could have been booked in the first half. But I thought he was more positives than negatives, certainly, and I wouldn't mind him starting again. What about you, Mikey?
It's interesting to see if he starts against Leicester. I suspect he probably won't, because being a derby, I think Yates might get the nod for that one. But like Fothers, I was surprised at this team selection. You know, he's barely featured all season, and then what is arguably our most important. I mean, they're all important, but it was probably the most important one we've had for a while in the league after our 2 defeats. He gets the start. He did all right. I think I'm with Lewis. I'm not sure about his longer term, but he gives us another option. So I think he'll probably feature a little bit in these last 3 games. I think he will. He did okay. So I just like the whole team, the graft and the grit and the determination of the team tonight. It wasn't the prettiest performance. We do look a bit devoid of ideas. There's nothing down the right-hand side when Callum doesn't play. But we got a point, and we're at the stage of the season now where it's all about results. It really is. If we get 3 positive results in the last 3 games, nobody's going to be complaining.
I'll just ask Lewis one more on Sangare and the last stage of the game. So Sangare went off on 74 and Murillo went off on 78. And I would say probably that last 15 minutes plus extra time, Palace were really in control of the game. To what extent, Lewis, was that because Yates came on for Sangare and either arguably didn't make an impact, or was it Murillo going off? Why did we lose the battle or lose a grip on the game in the last 25 minutes of play, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult when you make them changes when you're coming on in any game at any time, especially that last kind of 20 minutes. It's really difficult to get kind of the pace of the game. The games are always stretched at that period, and again, we're talking about the spine of the team, which is kind of what you always want to try and be as solid as possible. But in a space of minutes, we've had to change the spine of the team, and again, if you look at Morata coming on, a lot of the time he comes and plays in a back three. So again, that's something different when he comes on and having to play kind of in a back four. So all them things can unsettle the team, and then like I said, it's really difficult for the players to come on, especially Yates in that midfield. When the game's stretched, the ball's getting kind of turned over as much as it was. You feel like you're kind of just in no man's land and you're not really affecting the game. So sometimes that's difficult, but like I said, you have changed most of the spine of the team, so it's really difficult for that not to have an effect on the bigger picture, really.
Yeah, and I think that was one other factor. I thought we were chasing a win when we didn't necessarily need to, and we looked a little bit ragged and desperate. And Milenkovic going off, getting injured, probably slowed the game down a little bit, I felt. And it probably at that point we thought, actually, a point's not a disaster here. But yeah, I felt like we could have shown a little bit more maturity at one point in the game, but we got out of it and got a point. Let's talk about some first half incidents then. We had a penalty appeal, which Chris Wood was pretty adamant about. Fothers, enough in it for you or not?
No, not for me. I think there was contact, but I think he's gone down a bit too easy, hasn't he? There's definitely contact, but you're not going to get that. I thought it was if he's given it, I think it's soft, but not a penalty for me.
What about you, Mikey?
Nah, that's not a penalty. That I think the ball was going out. He did get a bit of a pull, didn't he? But you'll be given a lot of penalties if you're given that one. I've just seen Nuno. Obviously, don't turn off people. But I've just seen Nuno get interviewed, and he's smiling. So that tells you a lot, because he was miserable as sin on Thursday after he got beat. So that probably tells you that he knows that that's a big point, a good point. Obviously, we wanted 3, we didn't get it, and if you can't win it, don't lose it. So no, it wasn't a penalty, Matt, but I think by all accounts the manager's happy, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't win it, don't lose it. As Brentford and Everton are the 2 points that we're lacking at the moment, and that's probably so. Yeah, you take the point from it. Just before we go to Lewis, then I'll ask him about. We did have a good chance on the counter attack, but just before that, a word for the Trent navigation. And do us a favour, 400 people with us already, which is great. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. But just a reminder of what you can expect on the Trent navigation on match days.
Hey up me duckies, a quick rundown of match days at the Big Shed. We're open from 10, serving full English breakfast, teas, coffees and, believe it or not, beers. Father's Footy Quiz is followed by the lunchtime kickoffs, and the outdoor kitchen is fired up from midday, serving sourdough pizzas, burgers, hot dogs, pies and sausage rolls. Lovely. Pints start at £4. We have a great selection of cask ales and lagers to lubricate the vocal cords for a bit of a sing-song before the game. After the match, we've got some great DJs and live bands booked. So get your send down to the Trent Nav. Win or lose, we're having a booze. And if we draw, we'll have some more.
Lovely stuff. Just one other point on the first half then that I wanted to ask Lewis about tactically, and then we did have an incident I'll ask him about. Our attack was so lopsided, ball down the left. Is that just a sacrifice you have to make when you've got Dominguez? Did it make sense to you the way we went about it?
Yeah, but I think the manager's done that on kind of many occasions this season. Dominguez is a player that you can tell he really trusts. You can tell that he tries to put him in a team as much as he can. And sometimes managers always have them kind of players that they rely on to do a job. And I think when a one of the wingers is missing, he normally does that job, especially off the right-hand side. It's a bit of a lopsided, and that way defensively we have a lot of structure and we're covered, but obviously we lose that attacking intent, and they're just kind of the sacrifices and the toss-ups that you have to make when you're missing kind of one of our wingers, really. So it's a difficult one because, again, like I said, I think we're quite secure in that, but again, that middle to front area, we don't really get that pace and power that we have when both of them are playing off one side. So it's that toss-up really where the manager has to make a decision when you're missing one of your key players, and he feels that Dominguez is perfect for that role and gives us that solid base.
Just on the counter attack, we did create that one chance, Lewis. Could Elanga have done any more there? It felt like a good move and a good save. Could Elanga have done anything better there, do you think, or not?
Yeah, I think he'll be disappointed. Yes, I know the player was coming across, but again, I feel like potentially he has to do better, and I think he's had a few of them in the last few weeks where, and the reality is at that top end of any league, that's the difference. You know what I mean? They're the difference, and you look at it in the running, and you look at the teams around us, and that's where potentially I feel like when you look at the team, you look at Chelsea, okay, as a team. Yeah, they struggle, but they have them kind of individuals at times that have that quality. You look at Fernandes as finish kind of early on against Liverpool. Again, that's that little bit of quality that you have in them squads, and you're looking for them moments. And I think this last running will be based on moments, and normally that will be the top end of the pitch. And I just think at the minute, due to confidence and kind of where we are as a squad, I just think we're struggling a little bit.
I'm going to save the more Gibbs-White chat till the end. I'm thoroughly determined to do that, but it's all pointing to that way. But also just on Chris Wood, Fothers, I don't know, is it a lack of service, a lack of fitness, or not? He scored at Spurs. He hasn't really been in the game. He wasn't really in the game again tonight. What Pat says, we've got nothing up front. Well, Tyler came on and was pretty horrible in the other game. So what do you think on that point?
I think there's a bit to do with service. I think he's got the goals that he's got so far this season because we've been playing to his strengths, which for some reason, and I don't know why, but we don't seem to be doing that now. But tonight, apart from it catching the guys, it hit the defender, didn't it? And it's going in the corner. So he was very, very unlucky not to put us in the lead. I think it would have been at that point tonight with the deflection as it went through the player's legs. So I think he's been a little bit off it since he came back from injury, but I do think that he's lacking a bit of service because he showed at Tottenham what he can do when he gets the service. He scored twice. Okay, one, his toenail was offside, but he scores 2 goals there. He scores tonight, apart from a deflection that takes it a foot wide. So I don't know. I think not having Hudson-Odoi doesn't help because I think he puts the balls into the middle. But I think service-wise, he's not getting it. Yes, he's a little bit off, but he's still our best striker, isn't he? So we've got to back him, and he'll score against Leicester. He always scores against his former teams.
I actually thought it was a pretty typical Chris Wood performance. I mean, he scored against Palace the other game from 25 yards when he did almost nothing in the match and got the winner. Fulham away when we were awful, and he scored a goal out of nothing. He's had a lot of games where he scored, his chance conversion's mental. And this one, like Fothers is dead right. If it doesn't come off the guy's calf, 14 seconds after Sells makes a really good save, then we're probably having a totally different conversation about Chris Wood, I would say. Let's talk about the goal then. The penalty. I mean, does anyone think it wasn't a penalty, Mikey? It was surely a penalty, wasn't it? I think we can complain, even with our Forest hats on.
Yeah, I messaged you as soon as it happened, said that's a penalty. So, yeah, it was a penalty. I still don't know the rule. He stopped about 3 times, checked his phone, went backwards. It was ridiculous. It took about 10 minutes for his run-up. It's ridiculous. I didn't know you could do that anymore, but apparently you said you can do anything on a run-up. So
it looks like it, yeah.
Ridiculous. But no, it was a penalty. It was a good finish. Sells dived the right way, didn't he? I thought just for a second, he might have got a fingertip to it. But no, definite penalty. But a set piece goal we've conceded. We didn't concede from open play today, so there's another positive for you.
Yeah, Don Goodman said, Searles had no chance and got nowhere near it. I mean, I thought he was pretty close. If I was a Palace fan watching that, I would like, please, don't let this guy take penalties. I know he took it away, and he's a class player, and I thought he was really good. But yeah, Searles was so close to saving it. In terms of our response, Lewis, I mean, I felt that this was probably our most positive period of the game. Weirdly, we actually responded really well, and obviously got the goal back. Did Murillo mean that from an ex-pro's point of view?
Yeah, like I said, I think if you look at it and when they slow the replay down, he definitely tried to get a touch. And in them kind of positions, all you're trying to do is get a little bit of contact and kind of divert it to the goal. And sometimes you get kind of more on it. Sometimes it doesn't go to it. But like I say, he's got a good contact on it, and it's flew into the goal. So I think he definitely means to kind of navigate it towards the goal, and then you just kind of hope for a bit of luck. And tonight he got it.
What about the penalty? Just the execution and the decision. Any thoughts on that from your ball striking point of view? Do you like a penalty like that or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just like I said. It's something every week. There's something new, kind of a way of doing it. And listen, that's his technique. He feels confident in doing that. And listen, like I say, he scores. If he scores, no one says anything. He misses, then everyone's going to kind of talk about maybe his technique and stuff like that, and that's just football, unfortunately, isn't it? But listen, with Mike, as I said, I thought Sells again. He goes that way, and you think a little kind of hope that he can get something to it, but unfortunately, he didn't. And there you go.
Matt, for our goal, just a quick question: who hit the shot that Murillo then flicked in? Who was it shot?
Nico, wasn't it? Was
it Nico? The reason I ask is the thing that frustrated me on Thursday and frustrated a lot of people around me was we got to so many nice areas around the edge of the box, and there seemed to be an unwillingness to shoot. So it's really nice to see us have a pop shot from outside the box today, because you never know what can happen. You can get a flick. So anybody that watched the last day of the season on Saturday and saw Bradford's goal in the last minute to send them up, that was that. Hit it from outside, took a deflection, rolled in. Their biggest goal they've scored in about 20 odd years. So just, if we're struggling to carve teams open with sort of intricate play, let's just have a few more shots from outside the box, because that can happen.
I think so. I think you're right. I can see people in the chat. People tell me to ban people. I'll just let it flow for now. If people are being annoying, they're being annoying. Just ignore them. I would say for now, personally, but I might boot people out soon. Right, that's disrupted my flow there. Oh yeah, now this is what I really want to get people's takes on. Nuno made the change for Dominguez for Sosa, and I wrote down good positive change, assuming for us that Elanga would go to the right wing, and we kind of had that two-pronged threat. But then Elanga kind of went to the floating role, and it never felt like it worked to me for a few reasons. But what did you make of that change?
Yeah, it was a strange one, wasn't it? And because we scored, didn't we, as Sosa was waiting to come on. And with us equalising at that point, I actually said, put your jacket back on, Ramon, and sit down, because everything's all right. We're back in it. But then when he came on, for me, it had to be Dominguez going off. That I think he got it right in the change that he made. But absolutely, the way it then set out wasn't as what we all expected, was it? So for me, I think he made the right decision. I don't know why all of a sudden Sosa gets chosen over Jota. I know a lot of Forest fans are not sure about Jota Silva, but if you want somebody who's going to come on and just do something a bit different, I would have probably gone with him. But yeah, we then didn't drop into the lineup that you then sort of expected, which was strange. But and then actually after he came on, that was probably when we dropped off a touch, didn't we?
Yeah, he was really bad. I thought Sosa was really bad, but Mikey, I mean, do you agree? But was that because he was just battling for 50-50s and he's quite lightweight and lost them all? Did we not release him in space, or does he need to do more there?
Yeah, spot on. You're absolutely right. I thought they'd bring Jota on because of the type of game it was. It was quite physical. There wasn't an inch given. It was really tough. I think Sosa's game, from what I've seen of him, relies on that bit of space, relies on the one-on-ones. quick sort of counters. He had his back to goal a lot, which said a lot, and he got bullied quite a bit. But I still think he's got something to offer, and I agree with you, Matt, it was a positive change. And I did expect to see us have an attack on the other wing as well, to give us like those two dimensions. But as you said, Elanga seemed to go inside. So it kind of all transpired for us to be holding on for dear life at the end. But hold on we did, which is good. I just checked my phone. My brother's texted me saying Murillo was on the pitch at the end, walking around. So fingers crossed, hopefully it's not that bad, because you'd probably think he'd be getting treatment. I'm not too sure if it was too bad, but that's hopefully a bit of good news. We shall see. But yeah, Sosa, I think probably not the game for Sosa, but the intent was there with the substitution, which I liked.
I see your brother's text. It says he's beaten me in an FPL Cup as well.
Yeah, that's well.
Yeah, I was far too busy to respond to that. What about this change, Lewis, then, with Elanga playing more centrally? We still didn't carry a threat down the right. There was a time when Yates had the ball and there was nothing to the right, and he ends up going backwards. Did you get what we were thinking there, or should we have gone with Elanga to the right, or some more threat down that flank?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, because, like I say, I think the manager, again, some of his tactical work this season has been brilliant, and some of his kind of decisions have worked so well. I think again, he does really. I know when kind of we don't miss, if Elanga don't play or Hudson-Odoi, which at times they've missed a few games this season. He does, like I said, he likes that kind of extra midfielder off that right hand side. I think when you look to the bit where it was there, is one point when Yates kind of got on that half turn and he's looked out there. I think at that point, from the side, it was kind of like a Gibbs-White or an Anderson from a side, and at that point, both of them were centrally. And I think that's where potentially you struggle, really, because I think again with Morgan, with all the gotta say with the ability he has, discipline sometimes he struggles with in terms of positioning wise, and he kind of ends up everywhere. And I think again at times that is good because he finds them pockets, but sometimes when you kind of want that structure and he's not playing in that central role, if he's playing in a different role, he sometimes goes wondering a little bit where again that can leave you short off a side. And I think again when your centre midfielder's turning out and he hasn't got nothing down the side, listen, it doesn't look good, and it's not what you want to see. So listen, I think the bigger picture is we want both our wingers fit and available. I think we're such a better team. We have such a kind of on that front foot mentality when they play, and unfortunately, if one of them are missing, we're just a little bit indifferent on that, and sometimes we struggle a little bit with the kind of formation.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, it's a weird way to finish a game, because we had Elanga, Gibbs-White, Anderson, Yates, Wood, really central against three centre halves, which I didn't really understand because they just wanted us to play there anyway. So it felt a bit odd. I mean, it felt to me we were a bit lucky to get out of it for us in a sense with a point. When you think Eze, that's a couple of inches lower. Nketiah was offside, but he had some chances. Lacroix should have scored. Do you just take the point and run in a sense by that point?
Yeah, I think we've got to look at the positives, Matt. I think, you know, when you think where we were 12 months ago to where we are now, you know, we've got a great point at Palace, and yeah, you know, Eze's a great player, isn't he? You know, he's an England international, and he's probably one of the best players in the Premier League. So you're going to get that. I was a bit disappointed Will Hughes made the impact that he did when he came on, because I really can't stand him, but thankfully he didn't create anything that was meaningful. But no, we were hanging on, but we've come away from Crystal Palace, who tore Villa apart at Wembley last time out, and you know it's whatever anybody says, it's a fantastic point. It's stopped the rot of a couple of bad results at home. Wembley, whatever we say about what happened with Man City at Wembley, and we can take it into the last three games now, and we've got to take the positives out of it. And like Mikey said, Nuno's smiling, Nuno's taking the positives out of it, and we'll push on Sunday, and we'll be too good for Leicester, and tonight will be a great point, and we'll look back on it and we'll say what a point at Palace at the end of the season.
You've had your Champions League say already there. We'll come back to the others for that. Just on, I don't want to dwell on Murillo because I don't know how bad it is or how long he's out for. If it's the worst case, Mikey, and he doesn't play again this season, I mean, Morato's come in and done well. I wouldn't be totally, pressed for and think that's it, that's game over. I'd still back Murillo if it's the worst case. And I'm not saying it is at all, but how would you feel about that?
Yeah, you have to. He's certainly the best option. He has played majority in a 3, of course, but he did play in a 4 at Everton, I seem to remember. So he has done it. I think he played in the Cup as well in a 4. And, if Murillo ever leaves this football club in the nearest future, then he's the one that's going to step in. And this is why you have your squad and your team and your people. It's next man up, isn't it? It's what it is. And he's the best option. Probably means Abbott returns to the bench, I would have thought, which is brilliant for us and development. But is what it is. If we're going to miss Callum, if we're going to miss Murillo, Gibbs-White hurting a little bit towards the end. Like I said, Milenkovic, they'll fix his nose up. He's a warrior, that lad, so he'll play regardless, even if he can't breathe. I did enjoy the Mateta versus Milenkovic. What's that phrase they use? Is it, wrote it down, irresistible force and immovable object?
Immovable objects, yeah.
Them two, oh my God. It's like Godzilla versus King Kong. They were just literally battering each other all game. It was fantastic to watch. None of them gave an inch. Milenkovic ends up bleeding. It's great. So he'll step up. He'll lead. Morata will just fill in. Leicester at home on Sunday, you'd like to think we'll turn them over. And then it's 6 point. And then it's probably a shootout, isn't it? But no, Morato's proved he can step up and he's going to have to.
Excellent. You guys have always spoken about the Champions League, how you see it then. So before we go to man of the match, Lewis, how are you seeing the Champions League race now as we sit here with 3 to play?
So we're sitting here with 3 to play in our hands. You know what I mean? We've had a fantastic season. We've had blips along the way, like other clubs have. But again, the big thing that they said a lot on the commentary tonight is that when we've had them blips, we've always bounced back. So again, that's the confidence that we should have. I think if you look at the fixtures across the teams, I think on paper our fixtures look okay. Again, it's now to go a fantastic point tonight, and like I said, it is a really, really good point. And yes, we rode our luck. Yes, we on another day we probably don't come away, but we've had a few chances in there as well. But again, we have to now go to Sunday and take full advantage of that, and then it's kind of that pressure time. And again, I think yes, it's nerve wracking, but it's a good place to be for the first 2 years. We was fighting relegation and panicking about coming out of this league. So yes, okay, as a fan base, it's still very nerve wracking and going into these final games, but we're going into the final games potentially qualifying for Champions League. So for where we are now, it's night and day. So we have to kind of remember kind of how much we've improved and how much we've transformed over this kind of time we've been in the Premier League since we've come back up. So I think we have to enjoy it. There is pressure, there is nerves, but again, if you sat there first game of the season and someone would give you this kind of platform and an idea that this would happen, you would have snapped their hands off. So yeah, make sure on Sunday we're ready there, full force again. They'll probably want to come and try and be that kind of party poopers. So we have to make sure we're on it, but also from our fan base and in that stadium, make sure we do everything we can to kind of make this team that last little push, really.
Yeah, Sunday is really massive. Like, if we win on Sunday, we're in a really good position because someone's going to drop points. And I think Sunday, I haven't done the maths, but if we win on Sunday, it surely would almost guarantee a last day shootout at worst. So, yeah, again, big point tonight, as long as we win on Sunday, and I fully think we will. We'll preview that one much more before the end of the week, certainly. Right, I'll let these chaps have a quick think about man of the match, and then we'll do a bit of Gibbs-White chat because it was the big topic of yesterday. But just before we come to man of the match, if you're looking for new windows, new doors, as ever, do check out Nottingham Window Company. Link is in the description. Lovely time to buy. The sun's been out, So yeah, make your house look a little bit better with Nottingham Window Company. And as I say, thanks for their backing as ever. Mikey, man of the match for you. Who's today?
Well, before I answer it, can I just say off the back of what Lewis is saying, I'm full of sayings tonight. Nothing worthwhile is ever easy, is it? Just in life. So if you can have twists and turns, you can have ups and downs. You just got to stick in there. And tonight's point could be, and I think it is massive, because if we win on Sunday, it's literally a last round shootout, isn't it? Let's be honest. So I think this point's big. We just got to stick by the team, just stick in there and scrap and fight. Then in terms of man of the match, I had a few. I think Murillo did really well. In fact, there were a couple of good performances. But I'm going to go for Anderson, because although he didn't create that much, he was always there with anything we did that was any good or any progressive nature of our football tonight. He was at the heart of it. He was tracking back. He did some amazing runs as well. There was one run in the first half where he beat half their team and then just ran out of space. He's full of energy. He never gives an inch. And I think, and I've said this before a million times, I'll say it again, I can't believe how good he is. You know, I saw him at Newcastle. I didn't realise he was that good. And I think when he's not playing for Forest, you know about it. And considering he was partnering alongside somebody that hasn't really played much this season, I think he led by example. So I'm going to go for Anderson.
I'm going to go for Anderson as well. I couldn't pick. I got some stick for not picking a man of the match in a recent game. I think it was Wembley. But yeah, Anderson for me, definitely. Thought he was really good. I mean, Adam Wharton was the best player on the pitch.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant player. That was another frustrating thing. We conceded just before he went off. And I knew Will Hughes, Father's favourite player, came on and did well. But if we had been 0-0 with him on the pitch, off the pitch, you know, I would have fancied our chances a little more. I know we came back and scored, so maybe it's a moot point, but just a little frustration. Anyway, Elliot Anderson for me. What about you, Fathers?
Yeah, Elliot Anderson, 100%. I've got a mate who's a season ticket holder at Newcastle, and every time I see him, he still can't get over the fact that he plays for us. And he said from the moment we signed him, he said, "You've got one there," and he just keeps getting better. And when I look around, I feel like that some of the players are looking tired. I do feel like it's catching up on them. I think we've got that core 11, haven't we? And I think we've got 2 or 3 that can come in like your Yatesy or Dominguez and Morato, but effectively we've got that core 11, and the others all look knackered. And Elliot Anderson just looks like he wants to play and run and run and run. And I thought today that dribble that Mikey was talking about in the first half, where it nearly ended with something on the edge of their box that he picked up in our half. He's just outstanding, and I think he's got such a big future when Thomas Tuchel finally realises that he can pick players that don't play for just the big 6.
Well, yeah, that might be a Gibbs-White factor as well. Anyone different for you, Lewis, or was Anderson your pick of the bunch?
No, I think the guys have been pretty fair. I think like I say, for Nico was the kind of he gave his all like he does. I think Anderson, again, like Mikey said, probably in terms of on the ball, and I think he probably won quite his best game. But again, his kind of endeavour and his attitude of keep on trying to make something happen was there. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree with the guys' choice now.
Yeah, I think he was really good. Just let me ask one other point to Lewis quickly, just around what Father says. Players are looking knackered. I saw a comment on one of our videos earlier saying Nuno should pick fit players, not necessarily the best players, to give us a fresh coat of paint. And Sangare came in and did well. Sosa came on and didn't do well. So there's probably 2 ways of looking at it. But would you stick with the I think it's probably only like 14 players that Nuno really trusts, to be honest. But would you stick with that core 14, Lewis, or do you feel like we have to throw a few fresh names in, like Sangare, to give us some extra legs?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. It happens quite a lot. If you look at most teams up and down the leagues and actually strip it down, the manager will use 14, 15 players, and it's kind of them that core. Yes, I know there's a bigger squad, but he will have that trust over a kind of 14 or 15, and that's the same what Nuno has. I think in that, if you look at Murillo and you look at that, so Murillo's one tonight, I don't really worry about it. Again, if it's anything serious, you'll feel a snap, you'll feel an incident where you'll know straight away. That one looks like he's more felt a little bit of a twinge, which can happen with fatigue and tiredness. And they're the ones where you just have to kind of give it a little bit of a rest and ease your way through. So his one tonight doesn't look too serious. He walks off, and again, even at time, he was like he didn't really want to come off. So I think that would be more precaution than that. But on the bigger things in the squad and where they are, we talk about Sangare. It's really difficult when you've been out of that kind of core 14 to just suddenly come in and be kind of a main part of a team. Unfortunately, these guys haven't played and they're not up to speed. So I think it's that balance where the manager has gone with his players most of the time, and even when potential players have been out injured, as soon as they're fit, they come straight back in. So that shows you kind of that the trust he has in them. And also that can kind of, the ones that are on the outside of that, it can be quite kind of discouraging for them. And again, they feel like they're never going to get that opportunity. So sometimes the manager then looks and thinks, right, okay, potentially mentally, then players might have checked out a little bit where they're not quite at it, because I'd rather go with the guys that I feel that I've relied on all year. And that's just kind of how a squad in a change room sometimes happens. But I think we are where we are. I think we will stumble to the finish line in terms of our squad fitness of where we are. That is just where the squad is. And I think that all them players will be carrying some kind of knocks going into every game. And it's just a case of now of the medical team, along with the manager in the week, can we protect them away from training and kind of doing the stuff away from the pitch, and just seeing if we can get through these kind of last three games and give it everything that we've got. But we have to understand that these players have played a lot of football at a high intensity and a high standard, but also mentally, the kind of highs and the stuff that they've had will also take it out of your body as well. So I think that's where we are. We have to understand that these players are running on empty, and that's a fact of where we are. But all we hope now is that they can kind of get themselves ready for three kind of finals of such three massive games, and give it everything they've got to see if we can get over the finish line.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think there's a long list of players who are 80% fit. I mean, Chris Wood, Ilanga's got stuff on his shoulders. Murillo is, obviously his hamstring, but he often looks that. I think Elliot Anderson's been injured since about October with his foot, and he just keeps going. I don't think Milenkovic is fully fit.
The reality of it as well, where sometimes think is that you ask most professional footballers, apart from probably maybe the first two games of the season, you never ever play a game 100% fit. You don't. There's always something there. There's always something lingering that you'll go into, and you very rarely ever play a game 100% fully fit without any kind of niggles or anything on your mind, really.
That's good. I suppose we got a lot in that basket. I probably have Milenkovic to it as well, for what I saw the last couple of games. But he battled really well, Stain. That was a really good scrap with Mateta, who's another good player. I mean, Palace have got a lot of good players. I don't think we should lose sight of that. You know, I've waxed lyrical about Wharton, Sarr's a handful, Mateta, they're decent going forwards. Full respect to them. And one other thing we'll probably pick on tomorrow is, I think it was a real psychological blow. Liverpool, maybe we should have seen Liverpool's performance coming, but I thought they would get something. So that was a kick in the teeth. So for us to get something was a definite positive. Just before we talk a little bit about Gibbs-White, before I let these chaps go, because the clock is ticking. Thank you very much, Chris Aylmer, for the €10. Love you. Positive result. Palace came on strong in the end. They certainly did. And a point does keep it in our hands. So we're definitely still in the mix. Right, Morgan Gibbs-White. A couple of points to talk about quickly before I let these lads go. Fabrizio Romano. This is the first of about 300 Fabrizio Romano tweets, just to prime people on Gibbs-White, because he will tweet every single phase of this deal if it happens. and even if it isn't a phase, we'll get tweets about it. Man City plan to advance on more Gibbs-White in next weeks as he remains one of the priority targets. No issues expected on personal terms or work to do with Nottingham Forest as they plan to keep Gibbs-White. A couple of questions about it. Again, we'll pick up on this tomorrow, 2 p.m. with Colin Barrett and Temps. He's getting some hammer in the comments, Mikey, for his performance today. Was he that bad, or are we focusing on him because of all the stuff around Man City?
Well, I think the eyes are on him, aren't they? And I think, the focus is on him. We know he's pretty much our best player. Everything goes around him. The team's built for him and has been in the last couple of years. And he's more often than not been the talisman. So when his performance dips, it's noticeable because we all watch him and we all love him as well. You know, we've embraced him in this city. He's the poster boy, isn't he, for the football club? I've said it constantly throughout the season. I don't see it as a bad thing that teams are in for our players because it shows we're doing really, really well. I think we just need to make sure that whatever happens at the end of the season, and we get if whoever leaves, whether it's Gibbs-White, whether it's Murillo, whoever, if we need to sell somebody, we make sure we get the best possible deal for us, which allows us to progress and evolve as a football club. So a few questions need to be answered. You know, does Morgan, for example, does he fancy the move? Does he want to go? How long's left on his contract? Are we interested in renewing his contract, therefore putting in a release clause, which means he gets more money, which potentially protects the value of the asset, Morgan, and obviously gets more money for the club. All these things need to be worked through. But I think it's just a conversation that we need to park until the end of the season. I personally, and I know some people do, but I try to articulate it by saying the eyes are always on him and we're missing some key players. And if he doesn't do it, we tend to struggle. So when his performance level dips, people put one and one together, make two and think it's because of the interest in him. People have been sniffing around him for ages. Honestly, I promise you, we know, Matt, that a lot of teams have been interested in Morgan for a long time, haven't they? So this is just the latest one, and it just shows you the levels of performance that he's done. So park it to the end of the season. If a deal is to be done, we make sure we get top money for him. We wish him all the best, and then we evolve as a club because we are a trading club. In fact, 99% of the clubs in this world are trading clubs, and we're no different. So I'd love him to stay. I'd love him to sign a new deal. I'd love him to lead us into Europe and the Champions League. But if it doesn't happen, and he or Murillo or whoever moves on, we just need to make sure we are calling the shots, is all I'd say for that one.
Yeah, I don't think he's played, his best football. I don't know if the Man City thing is a total factor in that. I think there's a lot that goes into it. He was overshadowed by Eze tonight, certainly, which was a source of frustration. But this Man City thing has been bubbling on for quite a while. Mikey's right about that before we would have known about it. I should go to the head of the More Gibbs-White fan club for his thoughts on all this. Father, is he going to be in tears if he does go? How are you feeling about it all?
I'll be gutted if he goes. You know that, Matt. I've had 3 years of watching him, and he's just been our best player. Like Mikey said, he's been the talent. He's been the one that can create chances and goals. And we know he doesn't score enough, and we know actually that if he scored a few more, he'd have probably already been gone. When we signed him 3 years ago, I thought it was too much. I'd seen him play a little bit. I thought it was too much. But he proves me wrong every week. And I think because of the price tag and because of what we paid, I think that's made the eyes, as Mikey said, on him probably that little bit more than it would be normally. And I think Sangare is going through something similar because we paid what we paid for him. So you pay that bit more money, you expect that bit more. And I just love watching him play. And I'll be gutted if he goes to Man City because they can't even sell their tickets, can they, for games? And I find it disappointing that he'll go to a ground where it's not going to be every seat full watching him. So yeah, I'll be. There won't be tears, Matt. I'll be all right because I'll move on. I'll move on to the next one. I'll find a new hero to worship. But I'll be gutted if he goes because he's been brilliant for 3 years for us.
600 people watching, which is great. So I know the clock is late. I am going to let everyone go. The clock is ticking. So yeah, do us a favour, hit like if you haven't already. I'll give Lewis the last word on this from the players' point of view. Obviously, Man City big club, whatever people think about, and they win a lot of trophies. They've got a great manager, and they're going to pay a lot of money. So there's a lot to entice him there. What's your thoughts on the whole Morgan Gibbs-White situation as we sit here right now, Lewis?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think potentially as well at the minute, I think the fan base is probably a lot more kind of split than there has been over time. I think again, when you a player like that of that kind of ability, that kind of position, the reality is the club he kind of carries the team on his back, and as Mikey said, if he kind of turns up and he's on his game, we more than likely go and win the game. We'll at least have a better chance. And if he's not, the scrutiny's out, and that's just kind of something that you have to take of being that kind of maverick player. Really, you are going to be under a lot more pressure than the other players because kind of everyone's looking at you to go and kind of turn games at certain times. So listen, he will know the kind of pressure that he's on, and again he goes out there. I think over the last kind of more, I see a lot more frustration in him when he plays. I'm seeing a lot more kind of hands waving, and I've never been a fan of that to teammates. Like, listen, we all make mistakes and we all are out there, but I've never been a fan of kind of waving the arms and when a teammate makes a mistake or lose pass, and that's something that I've seen kind of creeping a little bit, and I don't know where that is. I don't know if it's just frustration of maybe his position. I don't know if it's frustration of maybe some things what are going on behind closed doors. But I think you should always kind of have that respect, especially in the public eye of team. And he will have that, but at times we're all human, and I've just seen a little bit of that. Seen it a little bit again tonight of there. I look at the Man City situation and I just think to myself, listen, Pep Guardiola, a fantastic manager, Manchester City, the club and what they've won, but I just don't think it suits him. I just don't think it would be a move that suits him. I think, again, Manchester City play good football, but they play under a lot of structure. And you see kind of Grealish, and when Grealish has gone there, he went from Aston Villa kind of being that maverick player that had that bit of a free role. And he's gone to Manchester City, and listen, he's won stuff that he's always going to be thankful for. But in terms of how he plays, again, I think he's lost that spark of what it is, and that's the structure and the discipline that Pep requires to play in his team. And I just don't know if, again, Morgan, I don't know if that will be beneficial for him. I think, and again, if you look at maybe competing for trophies and stuff like that, probably he's got more of a possibility. But I think for him, if he's going to go for what he has just got here, the club, and the way the fans adore him, the way he plays in his team, I think for him to leave, he's got to go into a situation where he's allowed to do the same. And I just don't know if Manchester City is the place for him to do that.
Do you think this is a tough question to answer. Do you think he'll be here next season, or is that to be decided? Do you think, Lewis?
Oh, listen, I think it's a difficult one. Again, if we qualify for the Champions League, for me, there's no need for him to go anywhere else. But again, we're not privy to kind of what's going on day to day and what's going on behind closed doors. I think there will be people interested in him, possibly, and it's a tough one. But like I said, as Mikey said, if that is a thing that's going to happen, it's now for the club to make sure that we get the money that we warrant for him. And I also sit in. I think Anderson's ready to go. I think he's ready to go in terms of listen, we don't want to lose Morgan, but I think if Morgan goes, I think Anderson's ready to go and kind of to take that stage on really and be that kind of maverick for this team. So yes, listen, you never want to lose your best players, but also as these clubs do in the Premier League, it's a matter of it happens, but are you ready to kind of be ready to move on if it does happen? And I think with Elliot Anderson in there, I think if Morgan does leave the club, I think we've got someone that is ready to kind of take that control in the team and that ownership of being that kind of main player.
I do think he'll go personally for the reasons I outlined. But I don't think it's a horrible sale. And I think I said this to channel members. Like, he's 25, he's got 2 years left on his contract. If he's not going to sign another contract, it's hard to see his value certainly increasing. So I don't think it's the worst time to sell if you spend the money wisely. And to me, that would be Sangare could be a number 6. He hasn't answered the question tonight, but a proper number 6 to release Elliot Anderson, or to play number 8 or number 10, and then a Damsgaard, or there's lots of players that I'll get Mark to go through it, and Mark's in a list of some Premier League players, never mind foreign players, who put up similar numbers to Morgan. So I think there are ways to rebuild if you use the money wisely. 2 quick questions, then one each for Fothers and Mikey. If you were to go, Mikey, what value would you be looking for?
Oh, good question. If he's not going to sign a new contract, which means he has 2 years left on his deal, and he goes pre-season, I think you have to look at history. The amount of money Manchester City paid for Grealish. The amount of money that's Harry Maguire went for Man City for Man United. These are English players, premium English players in the prime of their career. So I don't think you even pick up the phone unless it's 80 million plus. Like, seriously, I know that might sound a lot, and I know a lot of people are saying 100 million, but for me, these numbers are just absolutely insane. It's what you do with the money, and whether there's maybe a player thrown in like a McAtee or somebody like that. So I think it could solve our PSR issues for the foreseeable future. It could be good for the club. That's probably not a bad thing to say, but it could be interesting. It could give us maneuverability in the transfer market. But yeah, I genuinely don't even entertain a conversation unless you push in 3 numbers. And it may sound off, but you look at the history, and this was a few years ago. Players were going for this, and Morgan's only going to get better. He's mid-20s. He's literally pushing on the England squad. He's going to get better.
Same question for others. And would you be interested in any City players? McAtee's been thrown around. Oscar Bob. People saying Grealish, but that's not realistic because of his wages, unless it's a mental loan deal. But what about a fee for you and any City part exchange?
Yeah, McAtee's a good player. I'd look at him. You know me, Matt.
You wouldn't sell him.
I'd just fight to keep him. I think if we go into the Champions League next year with him, and we can add to it, and we can add I don't know, one of the couple of guys that people are mentioning from Brentford, somebody like that. But I keep reading the comments in the chat, and it sounds like it's a done deal. I don't know whether that's true or not. This guy on Twitter knows his stuff, so I'll be disappointed. But yeah, McAtee's a good player. I think the last 12 months our recruitment has been bang on, and I trust them to replace him with at least 1, 2, 3 decent players to come in. And if we're in the Champions League, we're going to have to, aren't we? You can't go into another season with the 11 players that Nuno trusts, plus the 3 or 4 others, and Harry Toffolo to come in when they're all injured. So things have got to change. For me, I wouldn't let any of them go. I'd fight to keep all of them. Murillo, Gibbs-White, let's keep them all. Let's go into the Champions League with the 11 that we've got. Let's add to it. And if he goes, then yeah, let's trust them to bring in the replacements.
Excellent. Right, we'll leave it there because it's really late, and I owe the panel apologies for keeping them this late, but I'm grateful to them. I'm grateful to everyone who's watched along with us. Do us a favour, hit like, as I say. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. with Colin Barrett and Temps, and then we'll probably turn our attention towards the Leicester game, which is massive, obviously. Right, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Do consider membership or Patreon, or just a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and some words in a review on Apple if you want. I do like reading those. Right, thanks to Lewis, thanks to Fothers, thanks to Mikey, thanks to everyone for watching. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.